All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our site's celebration of Maggie Walker's 156th birthday. Centerpiece of our event today is what we're calling a parade of love. We're going to see in just a few minutes a caravan of cars with a whole host of individuals and groups related to Maggie Walker, pretty soon coming down this very stretch of East Lee Street in front of Maggie Walker's home, where we're sitting now. And as soon as that comes, we are going to cut to that, and that's what you're going to see. But until then, I want to introduce myself. My name is Ranger Ben Anderson, and behind me, Ranger Mike Anderson. No relation, but we're two rangers here at the Maggie L. Walker National Historic Site. And while we're waiting for the parade, wanted to offer just a couple of little remarks that will help put this event into context. First thing to point out, Maggie Walker was no stranger to parades. We know that she was involved in quite a few over her time, both attending and participating. In fact, we have a great photograph in our collection of one of her cars, a 1920s Packard, decorated for a parade. So we'd like to think that the nature of this event is something that she would have liked to have participated in if she could be with us today. And we also know this stretch of Lee Street was no stranger to parades either. Some of her grandchildren told us in the Park Service many years ago that when the juvenile division of her fraternal order, the Independent Order of St. Luke, did parades throughout the city on an annual basis, they made a point of coming down Lee Street and passing by Mrs. Walker's home, and she would even come out to the porch from time to time and wave at them to say hi as they were passing. So again, we like to think that all the different components of this event would be something that she would enjoy seeing and participating in.
And we know for this home that birthdays were not a rare occurrence, having 12 people in her family living here around 1920. And you would have 4 grandchildren having birthdays every year. And we know that holidays and celebrations like that were one of the times where the family would always all be together for dinner at one time. You can imagine 12 people all together. Just about as many cars as we're going to have. We're going to have about 14 different cars in this event from a variety of different groups and partners that we work with to celebrate Maggie L. Walker and her birthday.
Absolutely. So we're really happy to have you join us. In the distance, we're actually hearing some of the honking now, so that's only going to get a little closer. But as soon as they're going to cut around the corner here pretty soon at 3rd and Lee Street, and as soon as they start heading our way, we're going to turn the camera over to them so you can see the parade in full. But just in case they make enough noise to make it harder for us to hear as they come by, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to the groups that are going to be participating this year. In the lead car should be our head ranger, Gina Rogers, riding with our head law enforcement ranger, Vance Knowles. They're going to be leading the parade throughout. But behind them, we're going to see folks including Maggie Walker's great-great-granddaughter, Liza Mickens. We're going to see folks from the Omega Psi Phi fraternity led by local radio host Gary Flowers. Omega Psi Phi was a fraternity that Maggie Walker's son Melvin joined back in 1918. We're sorry to miss ladies from the Zeta Phi Beta sorority this year, but we're sure they could participate if they could. But this is an important year for them. Their 100th anniversary of their founding is here in 2020. So a big year for the Zeta Phi Betas. And Maggie Walker, in case you didn't know, was elected an honorary member of that sorority back in 1926. So we're going to see some members of the Omegas. We're going to see some members of the historic Jackson Ward Association, some alumni from the Maggie L. Walker High School, and some Enrichment Foundation and others. So we're really excited.
See them turning the corner right now. Yeah. So we are going to flip our camera around so you are going to be able to see all those cars and celebrate with us here.
All right. You guys enjoy, and here comes the parade.
So it's bottom left there.
You got the remarks? The paper with the... Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, there he is, Mr. Flowers. All right, some members. All right. All right. All right.
All right, so that was the parade, and now we have one more special part of our tour. So you saw all of our special groups, and to end, we are going to have one of our other rangers, Ranger Mark, read out a few remarks. I'm going to hand it off to him right here.
All right, everyone, glad that you could join us. Again, my name is Ranger Mark Wilcox, and I'm proud to be an interpreter here at the Maggie L. Walker National Historic Site. On Sunday evening, November 30th, 1924, members of the Independent Order of St. Luke and citizens of Richmond, Virginia, gathered together at Richmond City Auditorium for a celebration. It was a silver anniversary. They came together to honor Maggie Walker and celebrate her 25 years as in service to the Independent Order of St. Luke as the right-worthy Grand Secretary Treasurer. It absolutely was a testimonial of love and appreciation by what was then termed the Army of St. Luke. And it was a wonderful gesture of tribute by the citizens of Richmond, Virginia. The forecast on that Sunday afternoon called for snow. It was a big snowstorm on the horizon, and yet the City Auditorium, at the time one of Richmond's largest venues, was packed to capacity. Up on the dais, Mrs. Walker would be introduced by her assistant and the mistress of ceremonies, Miss Layla W. Bankett. Following are the glowing words of tribute from Mrs. Bankett for Maggie L. Walker. We have come today with hearts brimming full of happiness to celebrate an eventful occasion, which marks the 25th milestone in the business career of a woman genius, Mrs. Maggie L. Walker, right-worthy Grand Secretary Treasurer of the Independent Order of St. Luke. Looking over the past years, we find that in 1867, 57 years ago, this order was founded by a Christian woman, Miss Mary Prout of Baltimore, Maryland. While she lived, she served her day and generation well. With the revolutions of the wheels of time in more recent years, a quarter of a century ago, in 1899, in Hinton, West Virginia, St. Luke history tells us that Mr. William M.T. Forrester, a noble character, then serving the order as Secretary-Treasurer, resigned from that position for many reasons. In that same year, the General Convention, then composed of only a handful of people, selected our present Secretary-Treasurer, Mrs. Maggie L. Walker. Since May 1899, Mrs. Walker has sown diligently the seed of St. Lukeism with prayer and endeavor, and trusted the Lord for growth and yield. When first she began planting the seed, the organization had only 57 subordinate councils and only $31.66 in the treasury. Truly, she has reaped what she has sown, and this has been her harvest in 25 years of toil, heartaches, sorrow, and suffering. From 57 subordinate councils to 1,500. From 3,408 members to nearly 100,000. From $31.66 to nearly $400,000. From a building of antiquity to a handsome, modernly constructed, well-equipped, 4-story gray brick building, and from an office force of 1 clerk to 50 men and women. Aside from these attainments, Mrs. Walker has the distinct honor of being the only Negro woman in the world president of a bank. It was out of her fertile brain that the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank, now known as the St. Luke Bank and Trust Company, was organized in the year 1903, and today is recognized as one of the best managed, growing financial institutions in the country. She has wrought magnificently well. So, my friends, we come today with happy voices, singing joyous praise to Mrs. Maggie L. Walker, letting her know that we, the St. Luke's of Richmond City, are bringing our alabaster boxes of love and tenderness, breaking and pouring the ointment upon her head while she lives. We are aiming today to fill her life with real sweetness, speaking approving, cheering words while her ears can hear them. The kind things we mean to say after she is gone, we shall say them while she lives. The flowers we mean to send for her casket, let's send them to brighten and sweeten her home before she leaves it. She would rather have a plain casket without a flower a funeral without a eulogy than a life without the sweetness of love and sympathy. Hence, we, the St. Luke's and our friends, have come to do honor to our own, Mrs. Maggie L. Walker. We really appreciate those words from Mrs. Bankett. What a wonderful way to end our program. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you're out there wishing Maggie Walker a wonderful 156th birthday. She doesn't look a day over 145, I guess. Thank you for coming out. And in the days to come, remember that our courtyard here, we are open. Come out, talk to us, get some information about Mrs. Walker. In the fullness of time, we hope to have our visitor center open again. But for right now, come out and visit with us. For all of us, for Richmond National Battlefield Park and the Maggie L. Walker National Historic Site, we'll see you next time.